Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Just wanted to hop on a few minutes early because we're going to kind of push this out to some of our other social media channels. So sit tight. We're going to give folks a few minutes to come on in to the room, and then we will get started and see what we've got cooking here for the next couple of days. Looks like it's going to get pretty active again. Another active pattern coming back into play, which is typical. You know, it is the middle, almost the end of May now, and this is kind of prime time, if you will, for severe weather, so no surprise that we're talking about that. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Very summer-like weekend. My gosh, we had the 80s yesterday, the 80s on Saturday. Very, very summer-like weekend. Even this morning felt really summer-like. Some of you waking up to temperatures in the 70s. I had to break down and turn the air conditioning on late Saturday. It got to be about 82 degrees in my house, and I was like, nope, that is the end of that. So had to do it. Just got a little too warm. So again, we'll give folks a couple minutes to come on in. We've got push notifications going out on the app. We're going to simulcast this to our Facebook page and all that good stuff, and then we'll get started. We'll give folks a couple of minutes here to shuffle on in. A lot to talk about. Severe weather graphics this spring have just been getting a workout. It seems like I can't go a week without one or two of these graphics having to pop up in my my weather hits during the newscast. So it's been a busy season, and that's kind of one of the things we expected when you're transitioning from these long-term patterns, from going from an El Nino to a La Nina. It was kind of given that things were going to pick up here for the spring, so not too shocking at all. All right, the push alert has been sent out. We're going to start our Facebook stream here momentarily. We'll get those folks on in, and then we will get started and talk about what's coming our way for the next couple of days. I'm kind of glad this isn't happening, though, on Memorial Day weekend. I can't even imagine. A lot of folks are going to be traveling. So we're going to hope we can keep the severe weather at bay for the Memorial Day weekend itself. Right now, no severe storm zones in that part of the forecast. There are some storms in the forecast, but I don't see any potential for severe weather, at least yet. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that we can keep the severe weather away from the Memorial Day weekend. Doesn't look like we're going to keep the rain away, though. There's multiple chances for it coming in. Not all day rain, thankfully, but there will be some dry hours in there, too. Thank goodness. All right, let's see if this stream wants to start itself, and then we will get going. Kevin says Bettendorf looks fine to me. Yeah, Bettendorf's quiet this morning. Everybody's pretty quiet. Even on the radar, there's not much going on. Had a little line of decaying showers and storms that tried to come in here a little bit earlier this morning, but that kind of fell apart, which wasn't too surprising. There's a little bit more drier air here versus what was to the west of us this morning, so I wasn't too shocked to see that. I was kind of talking about how the dew point value was only in the low 50s here. It was warmer a little bit further to the west where those storms were, so that's why those kind of fell apart. All right, the Facebook feed should be going. We're going to give folks just about another minute, maybe 90 more seconds. We'll go ahead and we'll get everybody in, and then we'll talk about what potentially could be coming our way as we get into our day tomorrow. This is something we've been talking about since last week, that Tuesday was going to be the big day, with some little smaller events before then, including the opportunity to see some isolated severe weather for today even. But again, I think it's tomorrow that I'm most concerned with when it comes to not only the risk for severe weather, but some of the ingredients that are coming into play to promote some severe weather. So again, we'll get started here in just a moment. I'm going to let some folks come on in. I know we just sent the push alert out on the News 8 app, and then we'll get started. I'll likely do another one of these, by the way, tomorrow morning, same time, 9 o'clock, just because we'll be in the actual event then. We'll have further clarification on some of the timing, because I think some of this timing we can button up a little bit more, but we need about another 12 to 18 more hours of some good model data coming in to really get that kind of buttoned up on the timing for tomorrow. So we'll definitely have more there. Christopher definitely needs the rain in Bettendorf. We have been so good with rain. A lot of us in a surplus now, and we're not even in drought anymore either, at least here in the immediate Quad Cities. You got to go further to the northwest to get any sort of drought. All right, it is 9 o'clock and 20-some seconds. We'll go ahead and we will get started. So we're going to do a quick discussion here. You've got me for about 25 minutes, and we'll see how much we can hash out there. Plus, if you have any questions, I can answer those for you too as well. But I just wanted to give everybody a big heads up in terms of what's coming in here tomorrow. All of us here, the Storm Track 8 weather team, have been talking about this possibility since last week, as we usually do, several days in advance. That's the amazing thing about technology now, is that it's more accurate than ever before to be able to look at some of these long-range patterns, and this is one of those things that kind of caught our attention last week. So we're talking about a small opportunity for some isolated storms today, but a larger opportunity for more widespread storms in terms of severe weather as we go into tomorrow. So we'll start with the here and now. What's going on today? What is likely going to transpire as we go into the next 24 hours, because things are going to really start getting a lot more active. So obviously this morning, walking outside, very warm. You do not need a jacket. My gosh, a lot of us have started off in the 70s. You probably broke down over the weekend, turned on the air conditioning. I know I did. So we've got the warmth in place. We also have some stickiness to the air coming back in. Look at the dew point now sitting at the mid 60s. So that is another indicator that, yes, we're starting to get some more of those ingredients to come back in to play here. So right now on the radar, we've had this decaying line of showers and thunderstorms trying to move through this morning. It was running into a little bit more drier air that was over top of us here in the Quad Cities, kind of fell apart. But if you were up to the north, Galena likely had a good downpour there about an hour ago. The rest of us seeing some light showers near Mount Pleasant. And there's a good batch of rain that's now moving into northeast Iowa, which is perfect. That's the area that's still in drought and needs some rain, so that's good timing there. I'm going to widen out the picture so you can see the setup of what we're talking about with this. Right now, there's an area of low pressure that was actually created by a line of severe thunderstorms last night in parts of Kansas, moving through Kansas City into Missouri. This is the leftover of that, and of course, not much exciting going on with it right now. There is also a stationary boundary, meaning it's not moving, it's just still, and it's right over top of our southernmost hometown. So that boundary serves as the storm track. Any little disturbance is going to ride that boundary and head right in our direction. So we've got one moving through this morning. That's going to continue kind of chugging along. It will lead to some isolated storm development as we go into the afternoon. But for the most part, I think this risk for severe weather is a little bit further east of the Quad Cities for today. Then there's a new area of low pressure that will come in tomorrow, really start intensifying, move into western Iowa, and that's where we get into trouble with storms for Tuesday. So I want to kind of remind you where we're at on the forecast timeline here. Last week we gave you the initial heads up. Over the weekend, yesterday, the timing became a little bit more clear, and here we are on Monday where we can start planning and preparing. We know the detailed timing, and it's going to get even more detailed in the next 12 to 18 hours. We know where the tornado zones are, the wind and hail zones, and the confidence in the forecast is pretty high, and it continues to increase. Tomorrow's our day of action. That's where we have our plan ready to go, and you're ready to enact it very quickly because these storms are going to be moving at about 50 miles an hour. So we're not going to see flash flooding or anything like that tomorrow, but we are going to see very fast storm movements, and that's also going to be another kind of challenge, if you will, for anybody that plans on doing some storm chasing tomorrow. A little bit of fast storm motion there. Not impossible to keep up with, but certainly they're going to be moving at a good clip. Make sure you have your resources loaded on your phone, your Storm Track 8 app, any of your other alert apps. Maybe your city has an app or an alert system in place. It's not a bad idea to have. You know where your place of shelter is, and you're going to plan for disruptions. If you've got all that in the bag ready to go for tomorrow, that should help ease your storm anxiety. So let's talk about what's happening today for the severe storm zones. Not as exciting as what's coming in here tomorrow, obviously, but here's the overall picture. So most of us are in a 1 out of 5 today. The only exception is if you're in Bureau County, generally speaking, a little bit west of I-39. That's where we have a 2 out of 5 in place. And the reason for that is as this low pressure comes in, we're expecting areas north central and northeast Illinois to get a little bit of atmospheric instability going, some storm energy, because this low is going to be moving east as the day goes on. Likely in the afternoon, some storms will start developing there. one or two of those could go severe with a hail and a wind threat. So that's going to be for the early afternoon, I think. However, it could extend into the evening. So right now I have the time frame for that between 1 and 8. And really today, with this boundary sitting around and this low pressure nearby, we could pop a storm at any time, especially as we get into the afternoon. But again, today's severe weather risk is isolated. Unless you're in that red zone, it's more of a scattered risk, with wind and hail being the primary concern. Tomorrow, though, there is a escalation to this, if you will. And there is a very large zone in this 3 out of 5, which means very likely. If you go to the Storm Prediction Center, they call this enhanced, not moderate. So this is a 3 out of 5, but it's the entire Quad Cities, and it's a real good chunk of real estate for much of Iowa, Missouri, parts of Wisconsin. But again, you see it covers every single one of our hometowns here in the Quad Cities as I zoom this in. So this was put out a day or two ago. Definitely grabs your attention when it's this far out in advance. There's high confidence that we're going to see widespread severe weather, and that will definitely be the case as we go into tomorrow. So let's break this down even further. Let's talk about the zones. Let's start with the tornado potential for tomorrow. This is also quite elevated. It is in the very likely category, so that 3 out of 5, but you're also seeing too on this map that there's a certain portion of that area that's got this polka dot pattern in there, and it does include the Quad Cities. So what that polka dot pattern means is that's the region where we are likely to see a couple of stronger tornadoes develop, and by stronger we mean in strength EF2 or greater in intensity. Tornadoes that stick on the ground a little bit longer, have a longer track, and a little bit more intensity to them. So that's concern number 1. There's another concern when it comes to the wind factor tomorrow too, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I want to remind you of what the different levels of tornado damage are and why the Storm Prediction Center is highlighting those areas tomorrow, including the Quad Cities, for this chance of seeing the larger tornado threat. And there you see, when you're talking about an EF2 tornado, that's winds of 111 to 135 miles an hour. That causes considerable damage. You're talking about roofs torn off of houses, homes can be shifted, trees are snapped, and if you go stronger than that, the worse the damage is going to be. We're very much used to seeing EF0, EF1 tornadoes around here on a higher end day like what we're going to see tomorrow. That's when we start seeing a couple of those EF2 tornadoes thrown into the mix. And we've already seen that happen a couple of times this spring season. So tomorrow will be a very similar setup to being able to get a couple of those stronger, longer tracked, longer lived tornadoes into the region. Now, in addition to that, we're talking about a very, very good potential of seeing some strong wind gusts in here. This is another polka dot zone, if you will, just like the tornado one. But what this means is if you're in that pattern there on the map, that's a good possibility of seeing some 70-plus mile-per-hour wind gust reports. We already saw a few of those out in Kansas yesterday. In fact, some areas, I think, saw more than 90, 100 mile-per-hour winds. I know you see this map, and you might want to start throwing the D word around. I've already had a couple folks ask me, are we going to have a derecho tomorrow? Again, those are really hard to forecast, and you can't classify a derecho until after the fact. It's got to travel so long. It's got to have so many storm reports. However, is it out of the realm of possibility that we could have derecho-like wind tomorrow? That is not out of the realm of possibility, especially when you're talking about winds of 70 miles an hour or greater. So that's our other concern. So concern number 1 is a spin-up tornado. Concern number 2, 70 mile per hour plus wind gusts that'll be coming through. And again, that impacts a big portion of the region for tomorrow. So let's go over the timing for Tuesday, 10 in the morning until 9 o'clock in the evening. Now, we're going to be able to button that timing up a little bit more, probably as early as this afternoon or this evening. But there you see the wind is a 3 out of 5. Hail is lower. Kind of more of a, I'm not too worried about that risk. I'm more worried about the wind and the tornado threat tomorrow, because both of those are 3 out of 5 based on the data that I've seen so far this morning. Let's stretch this out. We'll put it on a total timeline so you can see how this kind of ebbs and flows with the severe weather threat. So for today, once we get to noon and beyond, that severe threat increases a little bit, and it's a 2 out of 5, again, for areas east of the Quad Cities, closer to Interstate 39. The rest of us are just at a 1, but I wanted to include Bureau County in there as being the maximum threat level for today. It's just a 2. Then this evening tonight, that will trend down again. And tomorrow in the morning, not too bad there, but we get to the afternoon, and things start cooking. We get the sun out, we get the storm energy brewing, and here come the storms in the late afternoon and especially in the evening, and that's when you see we kind of peak at a 3 out of 5 right between, I would say, 5 and about 9 p.m. tomorrow. That seems to be prime time based on some of the modeling that we're seeing this morning, and I agree with that timing as well. So let's talk about the storm energy as we go into tomorrow. Especially not so much in the afternoon, but especially as we go into the evening. And there you can see some of those numbers approaching 2,000 plus, which gets us into the moderate category. Now, one thing that could bump this up a little bit more is if we do not have to deal with a whole lot of cloud cover or much in the way of showers and storms tomorrow morning. If that is the case, and we get mostly sunny skies for a good chunk of the day, this number will go up in intensity. So that's something we're going to kind of keep an eye on. Tomorrow, morning storms could play a big role in what we get for the afternoon. So that's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. The other thing I like to look at too, what's the wind pattern look like as we get these storms going tomorrow morning? We like to see the wind turning from kind of a southeast component at the ground more to a southwest component as you get a little bit higher into the atmosphere, or a westerly component. So let's kind of follow this as we go into kind of the prime time of storm development. We also like to see a good change in the wind, not with just wind direction, but wind speed as you go up into the atmosphere. So we have a little bit of that going on. It gets a little more pronounced, though, as we get into tomorrow evening. So this is about 5 o'clock tomorrow evening where you're seeing the arrows there, kind of making that classic curve, as I like to show you guys. But you're also noticing, too, the wind shear, which is that change in wind speed with height. The speed is changing substantially. You're going from about 20 to 30 miles an hour here at the ground to 30 to 60 to 70 miles an hour, 10,000 feet up into the atmosphere. That's the change in wind these storms need to sustain themselves and also to produce some supercell thunderstorms too, which are the ones that are producing the strong tornadoes and all of the stronger severe weather. So let's go right into future track. Let's see what the latest run has in store for us for the rest of today. This is the morning activity. Pretty spot on in terms of where it's at right now. It's moving into northeast Iowa. That'll pivot itself, pinwheel itself out of here as we go into the morning. By noon, we'll have a couple of clouds, and there'll still be an outside chance of a pop-up shower thunderstorm for the rest of the afternoon. Severe weather, I still think, is going to take off there, probably closer to Interstate 39. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they trimmed that slight risk a little bit further east of Interstate 39, because you're seeing here, we're just not making the real connection here to get storms firing any substantial way closer to some of our hometowns here in Bureau County. They're kind of taking off a little bit more further to the east. Regardless, it's still worth a watch. There you see, as we go into the evening, they're trying to what we call back build a little bit more. So more showers and storms trying to make their way and develop a little bit further back to the west. For tonight, we'll have some showers and thunderstorms scattered about, isolated severe storm possible there. A couple more as we start tomorrow morning. I don't expect too much strong out of that. But here we go. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, there's not much action going on. It's pretty quiet. Outside of a couple of stray showers, maybe a rumble of thunder, we've got some sunshine coming in. And you see all that sunshine coming in throughout the afternoon. That will destabilize things. It will build in that storm energy. And then we await the cold front to approach later in the day. That's going to bring that line of thunderstorms in here right about 6, 7 o'clock for the Quad Cities, about an hour or two earlier for points west. And then if you're on the Illinois side of the river, we're talking about closer to sunset. So right now the timing would favor later in the afternoon, early in the evening. That's when we would see the strongest of those storms coming in. Now, this is likely going to come through as a line, and what will happen is with the tornado threat, that's going to be embedded within that line. So it's when we look at the line on the radar and we're looking for those little notches in the very front of the line, that's the kind of coverage you're going to see if we need to break in for programming as we go into tomorrow evening. It would be a solid line of storms with an embedded tornado within that line, whether it's on the leading edge or built in a little bit farther to the back. Likely going to be on the leading edge as we typically see with those quick spin-up tornadoes in this type of a setup. So that threat will be out of here, we still think, by about 9-10, and then we don't have to talk about storms until we get to most likely Friday, which will be nice. So a couple of things to kind of keep in mind for today, for tomorrow. Make sure you can put a green checkbox next to all of these things. Do you have a way that you're going to receive those watches and warnings? For example, your cell phone, the News 8 app. Do you have a weather radio by chance? And it doesn't even have to be anything fancy. You can get just the basic of the basic weather radio. And we have one of those here in the studio that we even use. This little guy here. Well, it's been used so much you can see why something like that would happen. But regardless, this is one of these things. I think it's like $29.95 or something like that. You can get them at the grocery stores around here. I think a lot of the home improvement stores have them too. Always a good thing to have. What's nice is they have these batteries that you can put in the back, so if you lose power, you can still get all of the alerts. And yeah, we use this here in the Weather Center because it's a good heads up when new alerts and warnings come out. Do you know where you're going to shelter if there's a warning? If you've got a basement, do you know what part of the basement you're going to go to? If you're at work, do you know where the best place is to shelter at work and all that good stuff? Do you have a way to communicate with your family members? Is your cell phone charged? Is it ready to go? Also, do you have a first aid kit or a disaster kit also ready to go? So if you have all those things green check marked, you are ready to go for tomorrow, regardless of what Mother Nature may try and throw our way. But certainly looks like tomorrow is going to be a busy day, especially in the afternoon and evening, and we will definitely see what happens once those storms get going. More isolated today, scattered as we go into tomorrow. I do not see any questions on our YouTube stream right now. I just have Kevin's comment saying Bettendorf is still pretty quiet, which is good. Love to hear it. I'll switch over to the Facebook sources, see if there's any questions that I can answer there here too, see what we got cooking. Brett's good friend Brett is asking if they think we're going to be upgraded to a level 4 on Tuesday, later today or tomorrow. I haven't heard much, if any, rumblings about that possibility. However, if we continue to see this instability become a little bit more favorable in terms of us not having much on the radar to look at tomorrow morning, I wouldn't be surprised if areas just west of the Quad Cities got upgraded to a 4 out of 5. Most of central Iowa and barely touching eastern Iowa. I think that would be the zone that may indeed get that for tomorrow. But if it becomes a situation where that line, there's high confidence that we're going to build that up to a damaging wind event, then we would probably see that 4 extended a little bit further eastward to include the Quad Cities. Again, it's not a guarantee that that's going to happen, but that's the scenario that would need to happen in order for the SPC to likely upgrade us to a 4 out of 5 for tomorrow. That would be primarily likely for the damaging wind threat, if that were to ramp up due to all the instability that's expected to be around. Tyler, I do not anticipate us to go up to a 5 tomorrow. I just do not see that, at least the way the ingredients look right now. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a 4 out of 5 tomorrow at some point, but I don't expect a 5 tomorrow. Carol wants a good rain, but just not the storms. I agree. We've had so many storms this spring. It's been active. Tammy, yep, we are looking at the threat of high winds. We're expecting the high winds tomorrow to be here in the evening. So this would be between about 4 in the afternoon and 9 o'clock at night. This is a evening threat likely for tomorrow, the way things look right now. Tammy, the active stuff in the daylight, yes. Of course, the sunset is after 8 o'clock now, so all of this is going to be coming in through the daylight hours, which is nice. I had a question about how much rainfall are we going to get. Let us pull that up, shall we? I may have to tweak this graphic for a second, so give me a moment, and we'll see. These are going to be moving really quick. Oh, how about that? I don't have to. So we're not going to be seeing these sit and dump a whole bunch of rain in one spot at one time. These are going to be moving at about 50 miles an hour. Very progressive line of storms. There's your rainfall expectation. Your question was for Burlington. It's going to be pretty scattered, especially that far south. You may not be getting much at all with this line that's going to be coming in. The further south of the Quad Cities you go, the less intense this line is expected to be, the way things look as of this morning. So I hope that helps. Again, it's going to be kind of scattered. The further north you go, the better opportunity you're going to have for some of the heavier rainfall. But again, we're talking about these storms moving at a good clip. We're not seeing them slowly crawl through the region or repeat themselves over the same area again and again. I've got a few comments on my personal page we'll address here really quick. Pam's asking, where does Cooper go when we have severe weather? He actually goes to the basement. I kid you not. When we had thunderstorms last week, he just went right to the basement. I was watching TV. All of a sudden, clap of thunder, he was downstairs. He knows where to go. He's so smart. Michelle's wondering about Rock Falls on Tuesday. Still thinking the timing for you is between 4 and 9 p.m. Susie from Belvedere, my old stomping grounds in Rockford. Good morning. Excellent. Yep, you are prepared. You are ready to go. Michelle, yes, definitely pay attention, especially to the tornado threat. We're going to continue to very much track that through the next 12 to 18 hours. We'll see if it increases, decreases, but tomorrow is not a good day to be spending in a mobile home. If you have another place of shelter, that's preferred. Friend, family member, always not a bad idea if you can. Again, we'll see what the data holds tomorrow morning. I'm going to do another one of these tomorrow the same time at 9 o'clock. Lois is wondering how bad for New Boston. I'm still expecting about the same for you down there. A chance of that tornado. Also, the damaging wind threat is quite elevated for tomorrow as well across the whole region. So again, it all depends kind of on what happens with morning storms tomorrow. Right now, it's looking pretty favorable that that's not going to be an issue for us and that we're actually going to get some good clearing out of here. But here's the timing again to show you when that severe line will be coming in there. So just getting to the west of the Quad Cities here at about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So give this timing plus or minus a few hours because these storm systems like to speed up and slow down at times at the last minute. But I would plan on that being in the immediate Quad Cities region as early as 4, but as late as 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. So I know it's kind of a big window. Again, we're going to shrink that as we get closer to the event, but it certainly looks like it's tomorrow afternoon and evening that's going to be prime time for the stronger storms around here in the Quad Cities. And of course, you know, with this whole threat going on, the whole team will be assembled here tomorrow. So we've got you covered in all locations, whether you're watching us on air, whether you're on the website, the app, or you're streaming us. We'll definitely have all of that covered for you as the storms are rolling through tomorrow. So let's plan on doing another one of these 9 o'clock sharp, 9 a.m. tomorrow, Tuesday morning. We'll see if anything's changed versus what we've looked at here this morning. But by all indications, tomorrow definitely a very volatile day, and it holds some potential there for some dangerous storms as we go into the afternoon. So we'll keep tracking it here. We'll keep pouring over the data, seeing what our gut instinct is telling us and what else we can find out for you. Of course, we have one more newscast coming up this morning, and then Chief Meteorologist James Zahara returns this evening, going over more of this with you guys and the rest of us here. We're here all week, so we'll definitely stay on top of it. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you for GMQC at 11, and if we don't catch you there, hopefully we'll catch you on one of the newscasts this afternoon, this evening, and right back here, 9 o'clock a.m. tomorrow morning, same time, same place. We'll track some more storms then. Have a good Monday, guys.